And we are live. David, you at Site B?
I have what?
Are you at Site B
I am.
on the East Coast?
Next week will be my last time from this location, and then I'll be back to the familiar backdrop.
Well, my youngest graduates from high school this week. Graduation ceremony Thursday.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I have a college graduation to attend at this location next week. So
Nice.
This weekend, I'm looking forward to that.
So we were going to cover Tales of the Valiant, but there's been some big news dropping on 2024 D&D, so we'll look at that first and then jump into Tales of the Valiant. And there's some info about Fleet Mortals, too, coming on to D&D Beyond. So here is the article from Game Informer. I'll put the link in the description below after we finish the live stream here. This is the cover of the 2024 Player's Handbook. So who are the 5 people? Do you know who those 5 are?
I don't, but I saw a list that described them as all as iconic characters from D&D's history.
So I believe this is the Elven Queen Yolandi of Greyhawk.
At the top?
So, yeah, so that's interesting. And I'll bring it up later, but there's a blurb for the D&D Open at Gen Con, and they mention Yolandi, and they mention some new adversaries stirring somewhere. So I wonder if that's Temple of Elemental Evil. I don't know, though, if Yolandi has any connection to Temple of Elemental Evil in any of the canons. So if you're a Greyhawk expert, let us know. I don't know for sure. So that's Yolandi. And then the other 4 are from Call of Valor, the adventure group Call of Valor. We got Strongheart, the fighter here. You got Elkhorn, the dwarven fighter in the back. You got Mercian, who's the priest over here. And then the rogue is Molliver. So those 4
introduced as toys.
They were toys.
Not mistaken. Okay.
The last member of Call of Valor was the wizard, who was on the Player's Handbook in AD&D when they reprinted the Player's Handbook.
Oh, interesting.
So he's missing from this one, but he was on the AD&D Player's Handbook. I never knew that. Back in the day, I never had any of the toys. So I never knew who that wizard was in the Player's Handbook, but he was one of this adventuring company. And he shows up in Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and all these adventures are statted out in Wild Beyond the Witchlight. So Yolandi on the cover, that hints at maybe Greyhawk in here. We get some more hints at Greyhawk here a little bit in the article. So we got that. And then we have this piece of art. Let me just go to this other picture here. Really nice piece of art of the cartoon characters all grown up.
Yes.
And I love this, going in to explore some ancient ruin. Got the mimic, got a young dragon of some sort. Kind of matches, I think it's a dragon. Kind of matches some of the dragon artwork we'll see here in a little bit.
Yeah, with the way that contemporary D&D art is veered towards battle scenes or heroic moments, I kind of like to see the exploration bit highlighted like they used to do back in the day.
Yeah, definitely. So you got your owlbear up there, you got a mimic down here, a couple goblins, some pixies and such. Then back to the article. So here's the cover of the Player's Handbook. I'll open this in a new tab. Gold dragon on the cover behind the adventurers, red dragon in front, kobolds by them.
World's greatest role-playing game.
Yeah.
Right at the top.
I was actually sharing the wrong tab, so sharing that one. There's the Player's Handbook. All right, then get down here into some more info and pictures. So on the back cover, I don't know what city that might be. Can't really tell if it's just maybe some generic city or a city in Greyhawk somewhere. But these are supposed to be just generic adventurers, no NPCs of note on the back cover. And the artist, like you said, David, is the same artist as the 2014 Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide. And they talk about all the art in the Player's Handbook in this article being of heroes. And then they talk about, yeah, here we go. Jacobson says, I did the Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide, as well as many of the other covers that came after for Storm King's Thunder, Volos, etc. Nice. Then, and there's some work on the art. I wonder if that was always the Elven Queen. Looks like it could have been. They moved the dwarf to the back. Sorry, dwarves. Moved to the back.
I kind of like the dwarf in the front.
You would think short guys up front, but no.
Yeah, for sure.
Put them into the back.
I imagine that no detail goes unconsidered at this. With things like the cover, it's a new palette. They're introducing some purples and violets and so on.
And then I like this dwarven picture.
Yeah, that's
pretty
awesome.
cool. And that's like the cover for the fighter section. I guess each section will have a picture of the adventurer and then the contents of the section. And this is all coming from Game Informer. And if you actually, I think, subscribe, there'll be more actually in the magazine.
The dwarf is rushing towards you like a little cannonball. I love it. It makes me want to play a dwarf.
Then, let's see here. They talk about the Dungeon Master's Guide's going to be full of like the main villains of note from various campaigns. Here's the dragons. These pictures are amazing. So there's the red dragon, human for scale.
You know what this means, Tom? We're going to have to get all new dragon miniatures.
Yeah.
All the old ones are obsolete.
I hated that when they went to 5th edition and giants became huge and you had to buy all new giants. And yeah, now they can make them all. The dragons can be done over again. Very devious of them.
Devious indeed.
And here's was this brass or bronze? Bronze dragon. It's pretty cool looking. There's going to be a lot of art in this book. That breath weapon's really nice. They keep saying lots and lots of art in the book. Okay, then we come down here. Oh, let's just go through these. Like it's flipped, I think, in the book. Player's Handbook cover, Player's Handbook cover, back cover, adventuring. We saw that one previously. That must be the wizard, I bet.
The wizard.
Cover. Yeah, the fighter. A halfling, maybe?
Looks like a halfling to me, yeah.
Yeah. Tiefling.
Appropriately moody and dark.
I hope this is just a sketch because it's a little too cartoony for my liking, but it looks like it might just be a sketch. Who knows what city that might be? I don't know whose workshop this could be with the tiefling. Actually, that's probably like a fawn, right? Fawn being carved there. I don't know any lore.
Yeah,
that might be.
Makes sense.
Giant drawing room. I don't know what this guy's deal is. I guess a rabbit. I guess a heron gun.
Yeah.
All right. So that's.
I don't know if it's the budget or that Magic the Gathering artist Rolodex that these folks have access to, but their art, even with other companies rising to produce better art, it's still absolutely stunning, and I think at a level that we don't see from anybody else making role-playing games.
Now here's something nice. Okay, so new Apex tier monsters on the way. Surprising importance and inclusion of what is arguably the oldest D&D campaign setting of them all, Greyhawk. So they're going to have a sample chapter for like a sample campaign. That might be it. And I read somewhere, I don't know if it was in this article or somewhere else, that there'd be a poster map in the back with Greyhawk on one side and the city of Greyhawk on the other side. So if it's a poster map, I don't imagine, let me share this tab. It can be the Darlene map. That was 2 posters, but I love this map for D&D.
That would be a pretty awesome nod back to the game's origins.
Yeah. And there's so many people doing newer stuff. Like here is who does this one? Anna Meyer. So Anna Meyer did this map. That's Hardby region there. You got Ghost Tower of Inverness here. Safeton, I think that's where the Slave Pits of the Undercity starts, the A1 adventure. Yeah, so there's so much in Greyhawk. I mean, I love this world. So we'll see if they do some sort of new mapping style like this, or the older Darlene mapping style. And that's it. So any other thoughts there?
No, I'm excited.
Yeah, looking good. And we should be getting a lot more stuff rolling out pretty soon, I would imagine. So then the other big news today is Flea Mortals. So this is an MCDM book going into D&D Beyond. So that seems like big news. And this is a good book. Do you have this one, David?
I have this book and I love it. It's outstanding.
Yeah, it's really good. I really love how they do the big boss monsters in it. How they give them each like a kind of a rundown of things to do each round. So it's not like you're just kind of spamming the same thing over and over, but they have big powers that vary as the encounter goes on.
And gives a nice dramatic arc of rising action or movement to the battle against the big foes. And then the minor foes, it's got plenty of things like goblins in there of different levels, and it adds flavor and maybe a little more punch to all the foes in the book. And then it has some good alternative rules for things like minions and so on, if that's your interest, though the focus is in making a better monster book.
Yeah. And it's got a companion book that's got a bunch of monster adventures in it. I need to run one or two of those because they look really good. So that is Flea Mortals in D&D Beyond. Maybe we'll see MCDM RPG in D&D Beyond. I doubt it, but
I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Okay, then what we were first going to cover was Tales of the Valiant. So,
well, let me mention one other thing that kind of crossed my radar. I guess there was a little kerfluffle about one of the recent miniature packs that had a miniature representing the fighter on the cover of the red box.
Right.
And I guess people were up in arms because they thought that apparently this was true based on the word from the artist, that the miniature was switched from a male fighter to a female fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just me, or did I always think that was a female fighter on that cover? I never read it as anything else.
I always thought it was male.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. I could care less, but the way they kind of spun it, they said, "Oh, we're revealing it was a male." You have the artist. You could have asked him.
The artist says it's male, so I guess, I had it wrong all this time, but I always assumed it was a female. So anyway, it hardly matters.
No,
but
doesn't.
Apparently,
there's plenty of good females they could have picked, though, rather than some random blank one. They could have picked Lorana or Kitiara, both from Dragonlance. That'd be good. There's plenty of good high-level villains in Greyhawk. They could have gone with the Queen, Yolandi, who they have on the front cover of the Player's Handbook. So, I don't know. It's weird that they did that when they had so many obvious females to choose from. So, okay. Looking at the quiz. So, I kind of lost track of Tales of the Valiant while they were doing the playtesting. I was watching it from the start, but then I kind of lost interest, because it was like, oh, it's just 5th edition. It's just reprinting the SRD. And I did a poll here. Did Tales of the Valiant make enough changes to 2014 D&D? And what are the best changes that it made? And only 10% of 44 respondents said yes. All the rest were no, or didn't even know what Tales of the Valiant was. So that doesn't bode well for Tales of the Valiant. I mean, their Kickstarter did great because it was like right in the time when everyone, rightfully so, was very indignant to Wizards of the Coast, because Wizards of the Coast tried to revoke their licensing because probably for their next edition they wanted to really control it. And whoever made that decision should not be working there anymore, Hasbro. And I
Apparently,
think
it was Hasbro CEO
I
Chris
know,
Hawkes.
I
So,
know. So
um,
board, you might want to have a look at that because that was a huge mistake for D&D. I mean, it killed your movie. The movie plummeted because of that, I think. And oh man, it was a bad decision. And they're slowly trying to claw their way back right now, trying to get back into the good graces. They put the SRD out into Creative Commons, and that's what Tales of the Valiant's using. The SRD that's in Creative Commons. So it's pretty much, they're golden. There's no way it'll go away now. So that's good news for them. And so I started looking at the change, and it's like, oh man, this is like just 5th edition. But there are some cool things in it. So I wanted to kind of go through those and see if you saw any. They definitely seem to have done a lot of work. Let me pull up the player's handbook here.
yeah, I thought it was loaded with cool changes and things that I
Yeah.
like. And I
Yeah.
was starting to fall in love with it. And then it ended in heartbreak. Spoiler.
I
So
know
we
what you're
can talk
talking
about
about.
that a little
Yeah.
later.
Let's go over some of the good things here. And these are things really, you could get the book, you can steal these ideas for your campaign. You could try them out. Maybe you don't like them. One of their big ones is the luck mechanic, right?
Yep.
And let's see, that's on page 204. See what I find.
The
My
way that
pages here.
works is if you muff a d20 roll, you get a luck point, and what you can use luck points to trade to enhance a future roll at a 1-for-1 basis. You can spend 3 to re-roll some dice, and if you get 5, or if you go over 5, you have to roll a d4, and that's how many luck points you have after going over the limit. And that's to encourage people to spend their luck points and not hoard them and forget about them, or not use them as a resource.
So as you've been talking, I've been trying to pull it up, but the file's so big that I just now caught up to you. So yeah, like you're saying, once per turn, fail a hit with an attack roll, or fail save, you gain a luck. So you could definitely try this out in your game at home and just see how it works out, and if you like it. Inspiration often feels bad because it's like, especially if you're doing the way I play, where I show both results of the dice, and then after you use it, oh, I wasted it.
Yeah.
If you're playing, with actual physical dice, you don't know which die. Well, you probably do. You probably have your dice colored.
Mike Shea of Sly Flourish fame has adopted luck for his home games, even with D&D, and he really likes it because it's something that the players can handle completely on their own. It doesn't add an extra burden to the dungeon master to award luck. And also it's sort of since you gain luck when you fail, it kind of offsets those bummer streaks where you keep rolling misses and so on. At least now you've got some sort of resource that you can use to turn your fortune.
Yeah. So that's a big one that you can definitely just pull in. I kind of liked how they did lineages and heritages. Let me go to that. I like the term lineage because that's what we are. We're the descendants of our parents. Your two parents make you, their two parents make them. And so whatever your ancestry was, going backward through time is your lineage, going backward through time, that's your physical characteristics. And they have that. Let's see if I can pull it up quickly enough here. See if they have a table of contents. I'm sure they do. Yeah, there we go.
They do have a table
There
of
we go.
contents, and it's hyperlinked, so that's helpful.
Really nice artwork too, I think. A lot of good artwork in this thing. So you got lineages, represents the blood ties and hereditary traits of a creature. And then they have heritages, which represents your upbringing. So you have like the classic idea of what a dwarven upbringing might be, where you're living in stone halls underneath the mountains and you're forging and you're crafting. But anyone can be brought up in that heritage, and they might get characteristics from that heritage. Same thing for like the default elven, growing up in the forests and such. So I kind of like breaking that apart like that. What do you think of that? Yeah,
it's a popular idea, and it's a good one. It enables you to play a elf foundling that grew up in the forges under the mountain, or whatever combination you like.
They have a beastkin. So for all the people who like to play the Haringons and the Tabaxi and any other creature that's a beast, they just have a catch-all. The 2024 Player's Handbook was doing that, but I think they backed away from it.
I think they have.
Yeah.
But two things struck me in that sort of direction that we've seen in the last 10 years or so with all the games we've been looking at that are sort of carving off from the D&D mold is just how popular the sort of anthropomorphic race lineages are.
Yep.
And how popular the classes that look like artificers are.
Yeah.
Both seeing it in the game and seeing in this game with Mechanist. I'm sure we'll get to that in a bit.
They talked a little bit about removing a lot of the dark vision, but they still have it on several races. So they didn't get rid of it completely.
But it is a welcome change. There are too many races in too many species, too many lineages in D&D that have dark vision. And it kind of feels like this is the penalty you get for playing a human rather than this is the advantage you get for playing a dwarf.
So the Fireforge heritage might be pretty popular. You get resistance to fire damage. That's a huge boon.
That's a big one.
Most games. Yeah, I always marked that when I was going through the playtest. Like, you sure? Sure you want to be giving resistance to damage?
Just from a heritage?
Yeah, that's your heritage. Yeah.
Wow.
Then, of course, they have backgrounds. Each of the backgrounds, like I think 5th edition is going to in the 2024 book, comes with a feat, but they've renamed their feats talents. And they went through all of them and tried to kind of level them out and make them of equal power and bring up the ones that weren't great. They also have kind of a like a talent tree. What do they call that? Talents. I don't remember exactly. That's some name for it. But you'll see all the same kind of talents or feats that you used to see. They've just kind of tweaked all of them a little bit.
I do like the talents when I was reading them. I thought they were mostly sounder designs than the feats. I like that they're not a bunch of half feats, like with a +1 to some sort of character ability score.
Yeah.
And one thing stuck out to me is looking at 2-weapon mastery, and I think it's the ranged weapon mastery, the feats that match up with sharpshooter and some of those other things.
So let's take the ranged one. You have great skill with ranged weapons. Don't have disadvantage on attack rolls made at long range when hostile creature within 5 feet. And I think that's what 2024 D&D will be going to generally as well. In addition,
it's interesting because you need to use a bonus action to either get that ignored cover benefit or get the damage bonus.
Extra damage. Wow.
Smartly, they've scaled back the damage bonus, which made Sharpshooter easily the most outrageous feat in 2014 D&D.
They made it just your next ranged weapon attack, too.
Yeah.
So, they throttled that way back.
They throttled that way back, and it kind of sucks to be a ranged weapon attacking rogue or somebody who needs a lot of bonus actions for other things.
Right, yeah. When you said it was 2-weapon fighting, let's take a look at that. 2-weapon mastery, was that the one?
Yeah. Here's a little detail that I liked that showed an attention to detail that impressed me. And this stuck out for me because I'm currently playing a ranger and I'm swimming upstream by trying to play with 2 weapons. And one of the things that I've been fudging over and you've been letting me fudge over is technically it would take me extra time to draw 2 weapons. But here they make drawing 2 weapons the same, something you can do in the same amount of time as drawing a single weapon.
Yeah.
So nice attention to detail, even though probably in play, that's probably the way people are mostly doing it anyway.
Yeah. Then if we get to their equipment section, I really like I like the artwork throughout. They got a lot of good artwork in the equipment section. They do their weapon properties a little different. They have weapon properties like 2024 D&D is going to go to bashing, pinning, hamstring, etc. And they do it a little different where anyone can use the option, but then some classes get them easier, I think.
Right. An
Yeah.
attempt to kind of make some of the weapons more distinctive.
Yeah. So like a martial character might be able to use the weapon, do damage, and do the extra weapon option attack as a bonus action, like they say here. So that's kind of neat. And then I like how they did all their tools. They did worked a lot on tools, showing what they look like, talking a lot about
Sample
what you can use them
tasks
for.
that you might do
Yeah.
with your tool.
Yeah. So you can nab that for your 5e game. You can nab the classes that are in the book. Pick the ones you like, take the ones you don't, or skip the ones you don't like. They kind of bring forward some of the downtime rules. So on page 235, where would that be? Maybe playing the game? Between adventures, there we go. And carousing is something that Shadow Dark did really a neat way of doing it, where you can basically just carouse, spend all that treasure that you found, all those gems you found, go into drunken parties, and gain experience for it, which I think is kind of cool. It really brings I remember Conan, after he gets done at the Snake Temple, they're drinking and getting drunk and spending all their coins and all their gems, and then finally the king brings them out and says, "Hey, go find my daughter at the Snake Temple," and they do. So they have carousing here, kind of front and center. D&D has carousing too. I don't know if they'll change it much, but after having seen that in Shadow Dark, I'm definitely want to bring that into more of my campaigns.
It
That's
is
a front and center downtime thing.
definitely a nod to
Yeah.
some of the fiction, Fafford and the Grey Mouser, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
that inspired D&D, where they'd score and then they'd be down on their luck thanks to a period of carousing.
So that's the good things in the player's handbook. Lots of you got the luck, you got the lineages, the heritages, the talents, like a lot of those things, like a lot of stuff in the equipment section. And then we come to spellcasting. Tell me what you found in spellcasting.
Well, first thing I did when I opened this book, well, maybe not the first thing, but just very close to off the bat, I started checking spells that I'd written about in some of my popular older posts about the most annoying spells in D&D, because I was curious to see how they chose to make them more successful and more fun in play. And what I learned is they didn't change any of the spells.
No, it's like they ran out of time, ran out of budget,
I
ran out of
can't
desire.
conceive of why they didn't update this part of the game.
Yeah.
But there's no updates at all that I saw, at least looking at the annoying spells.
Yeah. I looked at animate objects, counterspell, Goodberry, heat metal, spirit guardians, all identical.
Conjure animals, shield, force cage, on and on. They're all identical.
So
and
nothing there to find for. You're gonna probably have to look at the 2024 Player's Handbook to see if they do it better. And
so
pull that in.
let me go in my rant here.
Okay.
Here's the thing: we've got all the classes are redone to be more playable, more fun and play. So looking at the Ranger, I look at it and they get a great 2-weapon fighting thing. They get a nice mystic mark that doesn't go down when you lose concentration. They get a lot of refinements that make them a funner, more playable class, because the designers took a look at the Ranger, looked at the class features that existed in the class from 2014, and decided to refine them and improve them to make them more playable. But here's the thing: if you're playing a wizard, your class features that you're concerned about are right there on the spell list. If you're playing a bard, those spells in the spell list, those are a lot of the big class features. And you're going to see those spells when you're facing foes that are also spell casting. Those spells are at least as important as the class features that they took so much time and attention to update. And here we've been playtesting those spells for 10 years, and I can give pages and pages of things that are too weak, not fun in play, slow the game to a crawl, too good for character optimizers, and on and on and on. All those things could have been improved, but no, they didn't get any improvements at all.
Yeah, it's such a shame too, because they did so much work on everything else.
Yeah.
And then just left that be. Tiger Uppercut says, find traps still doesn't find traps. I just looked. I can't find traps in there. That is a 2014 spell, right?
Yeah, for
It
sure.
is find traps. I looked in both the ritual section, and so maybe that's one that got changed or renamed, possibly.
Might have gotten renamed.
Yeah, if anyone finds that, let us know in the chat there. But I looked up a lot, just like you, and I didn't see anything. So that was real disappointing. One thing they do in the spell descriptions, this is one ad. I like their little description of what it looks like.
That is a good
added
update.
that to every spell. And of course, they have their spell lists. Come here. They have their arcane spell list. Yeah, I did a search for find traps. I found nothing in spells. So if I do a search for trap, see if I find anything in spells. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Don't know if what would be in spells or not. But back to the spell list. So we got arcane and arcane rituals, divine spells, divine rituals, primordial spells, and then I think they have weird spells. Yeah, weird spell list. So the do they have a class that is like their bookmarks too aren't quite set up right. I don't know if that was just the translation that I got or what happened there. Character classes. So like this.
Well, the warlock.
Again, I like the art.
Art's from a weird spell list, I think.
So yeah, they got warlock. Probably using the weird spell list. What else might use weird? Probably just warlock. Mechanist. So they have the mechanist, and interestingly, it's the artificer stand-in, but it doesn't have spells, as far as I know. It has where it can craft things like the artificers can do in D&D. Has a D10 for hit dice instead of D8, and so it's a little bit more of a melee type guy than a spellcaster. Magic source, weird for warlock. That's the only one, and the mechanist is not there. Okay, let's see what else we got. Influential. Yeah, sorry for bothering you. I want to. Oh, I'll delete that. Delete that later. Let's look real quick at some of the things people said in the poll here. So Graham didn't really have anything specific. Skill Matey said, I absolutely love Kobold Press, but to be honest, I'm disappointed that they didn't move far enough away from 5th edition. I mean, it is fully 5th edition compatible. It's not like its own game.
There are a lot of rules that are just pulled right over from 5th edition. Mm-hmm. I think basically they tried to avoid touching the 5th edition, basic rules. So even things like that rule that Gall's former guest of the show, Treant Monk, where you can't cast a spell with a level on the same turn as a bonus level spell. Yeah. Still in there.
Okay.
They dropped the rule. I don't know whether it was intentional or unintentional that a cleric can put a holy symbol and use that on their shield and use that as their one of their spell components, so they can cast spells with a shield and a weapon. Rangers are still getting the short end of spell components, because if you're a ranger using 2 weapons or you're a ranger using a weapon and shield, technically you still got to stash some of that stuff to cast a spell before you pull it back out again to make your attacks or whatnot.
Just got to note that the audio might be down. We'll see if anyone can chime in and say they actually hear us talking. Now That was from the software, not from someone in chat.
Okay.
Okay, so now that's the player's handbook. Let's talk about something that I really liked, and that was the Monster Vault.
Yeah, Monster Vault
Look at
is
that.
amazing. That's kind of the core
Yeah.
competency of Kobold Press.
So here's the
with all the
Monster
monster
Vault.
books they've done.
And if we look at the contributors, we'll see Mike Shea here. And I think we'll see a lot of his math in here. And this is the same math you can find in Forge of Foes, which is a book he has. So if we come down here, one thing that you always hear is how D&D can't do challenge ratings right. But it's very clear that you can never do challenge ratings right because parties vary tremendously. One party can take twice as much as another party can take just by their build, just by the skill of the players, etc. So no set CR is going to really cover all your bases. And they talk about that here a little bit. Mike talks about that. Mike knows that. All the things that can really affect what kind of challenge a party can take on. And there's a lot of it. And then the heart of the system for setting the difficulty, this encounter benchmark system, basically in tier 1, first through 4th level, total up the player levels and take a quarter of that, and that's the total of CRs they can face. And then 5 through 10 is half, and then 11 through 20 is 3/4. I wonder if 17 through 20 could even be 1. I don't know if
Possibly.
don't know if Mike's played a lot of 17 to 20. I haven't played a lot of 17 to 20, so I don't know how that would work too well. You don't find a whole lot of CR20 creatures either, so that'd be pretty difficult pretty fast.
I do know that a group of 20th level creatures can take out a Tarask in pretty quick order.
Yeah. And then, of course, you have some max CRs that you want to watch out for as the party's going up in levels. They talk about being careful at first level. You can easily kill characters at first level if the CR goes up a little bit. So all that's kind of covered in here. There's lots of cross-reference tables about, well, a lot of talk about their roles and such. We'll get to the tables in a second, but here's one other little mechanic you can steal and try out and see if you like it, and that's their Doom mechanic. And that's where the GM gains a resource called Doom that they can use in the encounter. And they have various suggestions for how to do it. So you can give a creature advantage on attack roll, give a PC disadvantage on save. And Zaphod says you can hear us fine, so that's good. Thanks, Zaphod. Okay. So yeah, there's another optional rule you can steal. And then, go ahead, David.
That's good. It's a nice rule to give the monsters a little bit of a boost to make up for the characters and their infernal luck. And, making it an actual rule, even though it's an optional one, gives the DM a little bit of cover for playing rough with with those characters.
Right. So then they have bunches and bunches of tables by different types of creatures, different locales for creatures. They have very cool artwork. Here's a Drow Mage. I like that one. And then they have ramped up the capabilities of the creatures significantly. Let's just take a look at one. Look at a devil here. Just take the standard horned devil. So this guy is doing damage on the order with his fork tail, 2 fork attacks, 1 tail attack. 19 damage with each fork, 22 damage with the tail. And if you look up the 2014 Player's Handbook, these are much higher damage numbers. And what I found, and actually this was Teos, I think, maybe Mike Shea, and some others looked at the damage output for creatures compared to what they should be, and they were significantly lower than what they should be in it. So I just have a little macro I put in my encounters where I can multiply the damage by a certain factor that gets it up to where it should be. But these numbers are about what it'd be if I multiplied the base Horned Devil by the factor that I would use. So I think across the board in this book, you're going to find the damage for these creatures is where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, one thing we've learned from playing the 2024 monsters for these 10 years is they don't hit nearly hard enough
Yeah.
once players get, past into those high single digit and teen numbers, because I think that the Wizards of the Coast D&D teams formula overestimate the value of the sort of defensive abilities that higher level monsters get, and then they lower the damage to offset those defenses, things like spell resistance. But what you're left with is a lot of monsters that just can't threaten the sort of characters that they're supposed to threaten. And these monsters look really promising as far as an appropriate threat level for hitting at the point that they're supposed to hit.
Yeah. And then let's look at a skeleton one that's just a real basic creature and kind of like some of the stuff they've added even at the lower levels. So as the page loads here, let's see. Shadow, I'm getting close. Skeleton, there we go. So the skeletons have a reaction, a counterattack. It's a one-time thing, but they can attack after they've been hit. Plus the base skeleton, they've added a short bow too. The damage is low because they're just a CR 1/4 creature, but it gives them a little bit extra to play with there. You'll notice that they are vulnerable to bludgeoning just like before, but they're resistant to piercing, which they are not in the basic 2014 rules.
Yep. So they're hitting a little bit harder.
Yep.
And like a lot of monsters, I don't know if that counterattack is particularly flavorful, but quite a lot of the monsters in this book get very flavorful extra abilities that they don't have in the original monster manual. And some of them get some really folklore tie-in sort of abilities or characteristics that you don't see in the game. Like there's trolls that can get turned to stone, and there's basilisks that can turn themselves to stone if they see the reflection, and so on.
They talked a lot about the lore for their creations because the lore didn't carry over. So in the SRD, it's just the raw stats for the creatures, and they didn't use the SRD stats. I mean, many of the hit points are higher, many of the damages are way higher across the board, but they had all the lore to redo. So they really went to town on that kind of thing, and that you can see it in the Cloud Giant, for example. Cloud-coated mace, instead of throwing rocks, it has a wind burst it can use. Has cloud cover as a bonus action. Cirrus deflection as a reaction. So really diving into that lore. So really nice book, I think, overall. And they should take whoever the authors of this book were and make sure that they're consulted for the 2024 Monster Manual. I'd hate for the 2024 Monster Manual to not come up to this level.
Well, here's the good thing is I would be happy to throw out the Monster Manual and use this book as a replacement for my own campaign.
And you can, yeah.
And you can. There's no reason you can't. And the players, they don't have to make any changes at all if you do that kind of swap.
So D&D Beyond put Flea Mortals in D&D Beyond. Maybe we can talk them into putting Tales of the Valiant in there.
Yeah, quite possibly. I think it's in that that alternate. I can't remember what the name of that other character builder that we've been seeing more and more systems using.
Oh, Demiplane?
Demiplane, that's it. I think Demiplane now has support for Tales of the Valiant.
Yeah.
Another thing I noticed is some of these creatures have a lot more hit points, especially ones like the Lich. They were a little weak and certainly
like
going to be easy targets for the players.
Let's find a Lich. That's Virtuoso Lich. There we go. So 314 hit points.
Yeah,
CR
it's got 99, I think, in the...
It's not CR21 in 2014, I don't think. They've gone with the spell casting that matches the later spell casting, where it's, at wills and sometimes per day instead of spells. I mean, these are spells, but it also has the powers that are like spells. So Arcane Death Burst, for example, is doing 23 points of force damage plus 17 necrotic damage, plus 12 to hit, reach 5 feet or 20 feet. So they have a lot of these powers that are both melee and ranged. So they're taking a lot of the later D&D stuff and using it for the powers. The damage is up there. Then they have reactions like Absorb Spell. This one has legendary actions, so they're using the legendary actions. And I also noticed in Vecna, Eve of Ruin, the legendary actions are for most monsters. I noticed in Planescape they're using multiple reactions for a lot of monsters. Seems they might have kind of gone away from that. This doesn't confirm anything because this isn't Wizards, but we'll see. The Vecna definitely went away from it a lot.
There was a time when they were experimenting with not using legendaries and using reactions instead, which my way of thinking burdens the dungeon master with an extra memory load when we've got plenty to remember already.
Yeah.
But I can see how maybe at some point they were thinking, wow, we can take this whole legendary action section out of the book and replace it with another monster or something.
And just use reactions. But then they had to go change the Shocking Grasp spell to say it doesn't preclude reactions, it just precludes opportunity attacks. But it seems like that might have gone away. And I think I agree with your thought. That's a lot easier to plan for. You can put those legendary actions right into the initiative tracker so you don't forget them. And you can plan ahead, and you don't have to remember all the triggers. Because if you're running several legendary creatures and you got to remember like 6 different triggers, that could be hard to remember all that and do it right. So that's it. That's the Tales of the Valiant Monster Vault. Highly recommend it. It looks really good. It's basically got every single monster that's in the regular monster manual, I think, or at least the SRD.
And some bonus kobold monsters.
Yeah.
And some leveled up versions of typical humanoid monsters. So some goblin commanders and that kind of thing that maybe are a little neglected in the 2014 monster manual, and that are very useful at your table to making those sorts of humanoid monsters more versatile at higher levels.
Yeah. The lycanthropes have their change shape be a bonus action. Hopefully that's what 2024 will do. Because otherwise, if they had to change shape as an action, then that's one round that they don't get a fight. And they're only going to live for 2 or 3. So that's a good change for sure.
Oh, did you notice that the magic items have prices in the book? They're in the player's handbook equivalent, and they have prices in gold pieces, which I think is a useful addition because you can dangle magic items in front of your players from the magic shop to kind of soak up some of that extra gold and turn it into a reward rather than a bookkeeping exercise. But plus, if you want to do a one-shot and players are creating characters for a one-shot, you can just give them a budget for how much to spend on magic items.
Yeah. So, and they put that right into the character building too. If you look at the character building section, it has creating higher level characters, which used to be, I think, in the DMG in 2014. They brought all the downtime stuff to the players facing side. So they've done some good stuff. That's all good stuff for what do you spend your gold on, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's good to have. Skill Matey says they seem to model monster their flavor like Pathfinder monsters. KPB art is amazing. I like a lot of this art for sure. And their lore is the best in my opinion, especially their world building. So their world, I was going to show this. Let me share this instead. Go to the player's handbook or the whatever they have, player's guide. So they have their gods and pantheons in the back here. And this is from their labyrinthian pantheon. So they're going to have, I think, some world books coming next. So that'll be good. And their adventures look really good. I have not played their adventures for Tales of the Valiant, but those look good too. And then I like that they have, in addition to those those pantheons, they have Egyptian and Greek and Norse as well in the book. You'll notice there's no mention of alignments. I don't know if there's alignment in this game at all. Did you see alignment?
Yeah, no, I didn't notice it, and I did look when I opened the monster book to see if there was alignments assigned to the monsters, and I didn't see that. So
zero references to alignment, all gone. So then protection from evil should be gone from the spell lists.
Well, what was it turned into some in some of the one D&D play tests? It became protection from supernatural, something like that.
Something like that. So you got no protection is a ritual. There's a magic circle, ward against creature types. But divine spell list, first level. Detect evil and good. Huh. Protection from
overlook
evil and
it?
good. That's interesting. Let's go look at protection from evil and good. Maybe we just missed alignment somewhere. Or maybe that's just because they copied the spells verbatim. Such a shame. Everything was going good. Huh. Are they not in alphabetical order? PR.
They are theoretically in alphabetical order.
Oh, these are rituals. Okay,
Those are rituals.
Get out of the ritual section here. Spell descriptions. That's a cool picture right there. All the power words. Produce flame.
Well, you're looking there. I to take a moment to look at Stunning Strike for the monk.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because that is a occasional annoying power, and it's largely the same, except they limited it to 1 per turn. Probably a smart change.
Yeah.
And a clever change was that once the creature that's stunned takes damage, they get another saving throw. So you can't. That's not in the current rules, right?
Right.
So you can't just open a can of whoop ass on a stunned creature and finish it. There's a little bit of a trade-off of risk reward with that. I thought that was clever.
Okay, so protection from evil and good protects from different creature types. I'm starting to think that's what it does in 5th edition too.
I think that's what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there is an alignment aspect to it, even though it says evil and good. I think it's creature types. Okay, so no alignments at all in the game. That's about all I had. Anything else to add, David?
Paladin, aura, unchanged. The number 1 power multiplier for a party. It's not the worst because it's still everyone's benefits and it still makes it fun for everybody except for the dungeon master. But on the other hand, it really changes the capabilities of the party in a dramatic fashion.
Yeah, it definitely does. I wonder, did they increase overall and in general the level of saving throws that are required? Because that was the main thing, is like you get a high level paladin and pretty soon no one's been failing to save. But if all the monster saves went up a lot, then it might not be as bad a deal.
Well, yeah, but then if you don't have that paladin, you're getting
in trouble. Yeah,
you're getting in a lot of trouble. So,
how about smiting? Did they do smiting to be once
smiting is 1 per turn? So good change.
Yeah,
a little bit of a tone down, but still.
Yeah. That's the thing about the paladin aura. It's like no one in the party feels bad that that exists, whereas the sharpshooter just completely outclassed anyone in a party. The paladin, not so much, but could definitely Nova and get a lot of stuff done in 1 round. I think that the worst ever was always the sharpshooter. You combine that with Battle Master so that they can use their precise strike. They're never missing. You combine it with things like Samurai where they get advantage, or Loomstalker where they get advantage, and it was just always a must-have if you wanted to deal out the damage.
No arguments.
So definitely tone that down. That's for sure.
That's a smart change.
Yep. Okay, so that's it. Final recommendation: get the Monster Vault.
Absolutely.
Take the stuff you like from the player's guide. I mean, it's not bad overall, I don't think, but maybe you might want to find the 2024 Player's Handbook spells and see if you want to bring any of those in. And then you'd have a complete updated book, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, David. And everyone in the stream, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye, folks.